Good evening and welcome to this annual meeting of the Full Council. This meeting is being live streamed, and so the microphones and cameras will be live throughout the meeting, including during the break in proceedings. A list of all the members who are present will be recorded in the minutes of the meeting. Item 1 on the agenda is to elect the Lord Mayor for the ensuing year. I call upon Councillor Ruth Bush to move the motion.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor, before I begin, may I congratulate you on your year as Lord Mayor. You traversed all areas of the city, sometimes on your own steam. We appreciated it. Thank you. So, Lord Mayor-elect, honoured guests, both here and online, fellow councillors and aldermen, alderwomen, alderpersons, let me tell you something of the remarkable man I have the honour to be proposing as the next Lord Mayor of Westminster. Paul was born in Manchester in 1950, the son of Lily and Maurice de Moltenberg. He's married to Linda Hardman, and they have two daughters, Amelia and Zoe. They are all with us this evening, and you will hear more about them later. Young Paul went to King David Primary School in Manchester, then to Bury Grammar School. He came to London in 1969, gaining a diploma in social and environmental planning from the Polytechnic of Central London, now the University of Westminster. He was subsequently awarded an MSc in Urban Planning Studies from Oxford Polytechnic, now Oxford Brookes University. He qualified as a member of the Royal Town Planning Institute in 1979, then worked in local government, first in the planning department at Wandsworth Council, then as senior research officer in the Town Clerk's Department at Southwark Council. After 13 years, he moved into the public relations field, first working for Good Relations, then in 2007, along with 3 colleagues, setting up Quattro, of which he's now chair. And anyone who, like me, has set up and run a small business knows what an achievement it is for Quattro to have continued so far for the best part of 2 decades. Paul has lived in Westminster since the early 1970s and been involved in Westminster politics since 1974. He was first elected to the City Council in 1982 and 1986 for Harrow Road Ward, my ward. He served as Labour planning spokesperson, then became leader of the opposition for 4 years. After unsuccessfully contesting the Conservative-held Cavendish ward, Paul was returned to the council in 1997, this time for Queen's Park ward, at the by-election following Dame Karen, following Karen Buck's election to Parliament. He won for Queen's Park in the 6 subsequent elections, serving the people of Queen's Park ward for 25 years, until he stepped down in 2022, intending to retire, of which more later. During this quarter century, Paul showed the qualities of leadership and mentoring to which so many councillors and former councillors whom I've contacted have referred, creating and strengthening the Labour group to do its job of opposition well, and to always be ready to run the administration, as his Queen's Park colleague, Councillor Patricia McAllister, observed. She has also pointed out that Paul played a key part in the establishment of Queen's Park Community Council, London's first and so far only parish council. Paul is a campaigner extraordinaire. Councillor Maggie Carman, former Councillor Pancho Lewis, and others speak of how Paul whisked them into responding immediately to residents' issues and helped them to produce newsletters at the speed of light. And he sustained this speed of response when he was, along with the surprised councillors Shamshed Chowdhury and Judith Southern, almost accidentally returned for Hyde Park Ward and became a member of the first Westminster Labour cabinet. Maggie Pancho and former councillor Andrea Mann all speak of Paul's detailed knowledge of areas of their wards, respectively Bayswater, Fitzrovia and Pimlico, when he galvanised their campaigns as new candidates. And they, and so many others, speak of how Paul encouraged them, answering those questions which really flummox new councillors. Maggie writes, Maggie writes, whatever the query, who's in charge of lamp columns? How can I find out if the coroner has released a body? Who should I contact about a noisy air conditioning unit? I would fire off an email to Paul and get an answer immediately. The impact of Paul's speedy responses was not lost on the then majority party, who did all they could, according to Councillor Devon Nish, who may or may not be here, via Councillor Robertson. They did all they could to rebut what he put in his witty, pinging comments to the then press, now social media. But Paul always respected councillors who responded to their residents' needs, whichever party they represented. Former councillor, now honorary alderman, Guthrie McKee, reminds us that when he was on the licensing committee, there was a review of the Soho area. The biggest thorn in the side of the council was the late Councillor Ian Wilder, who toured Soho on his moped and produced videos of late-night activity in that area. Paul was a great supporter of Ian Wilder and his defence of his residents. But above all, it is Paul's integrity that comes up time and again, his speaking truth to power in all circumstances. Colleagues will remember this in full council meetings, where Andrea tells us she would watch him in awe and try to adopt the mantra, be more Paul, because Paul's ability to take the important things deadly seriously, yet wear life lightly, is truly inspiring. But as former councillor Nilavra Mukherjee points out, not everyone will remember the most perilous episode in Paul's time as a councillor and then as opposition leader, his 2-year battle with the Standards Board for England, during which his integrity and bravery were never more evident. Nilavra writes, in an era where politicians are frequently viewed as being in it for themselves and their own political careers, he put himself on the line for something that needed fighting for. Paul was successful in this fight, though it put great strain on him and his family. He helped secure £12 million of the Homes for Votes surcharge owed by former council leader Dame Shirley Porter. You can read all about it in his book, The Westminster Whistleblowers. This is not the only book Paul has written. I can barely remember what I did during COVID lockdowns, but Paul wrote 3 books. Cheer Churchill, Vote Labour, and Building the New Jerusalem, both about Labour's post-war success, and A Sense of Duty, a biography of Sir Ashley Bramall, leader of the Inner London Education Authority and a former Westminster councillor. Since then, Paul has written Winning Westminster, how the historic change of administration of this council came about in 2022. And Paul has donated all royalties from these books to food banks in Westminster. But Paul's hinterland is wider than writing. He loves cinema and theatre, jazz and brass band music, and travel. He also loves this city and used to conduct popular-themed walks. And he was involved in the restoration of the Lancaster Gate War Memorial Cross, where a service is now held on Remembrance Sunday in memory of Paddington residents who died fighting in the First World War. Understandably, given his origins, Paul is a Manchester United fan. An enthusiasm he shares with Guthrie and also with Conservative councillor Melvyn Kaplan. An interesting trio, loyal in adversity. And Melvyn also notes, good-humouredly, that there's a sort of irony because, like the team, Paul is sort of taking a season off being Lord Mayor. So, and also, he doesn't drive, Paul, he doesn't drive. So for a whole year, he will be driving. He won't personally be driving. He will be being driven around our wonderful city. As I draw to a close, I want to mention 4 people no longer with us. The first is the late Veronica Mockler, Paul's secretary when he was leader of the opposition. Veronica was undoubtedly overworked, but she was full of admiration for Paul and his commitment to the people of Westminster. The others are Paul's late Queen's Park councillor colleagues Mushtaq Qureshi and Barry Taylor. And the last I mention is Tony Mothersdale, councillor in Queen's Park ward, Church Street ward. All 4, my enemy, all 4 would be thrilled to know that Paul is in this position today. Lord Mayor, when I had the honour of being the first Lord Mayor of Westminster from what was then the minority party, I adopted the practice of some previous Lord Mayors of inviting people other than my consorts to act as escorts to some events in order to share the experience as widely as possible. There were 2 events which I thought it would be good to share with Paul, but I wasn't sure. We're all political. We wouldn't be councillors if we weren't. But Paul is one of the most overtly political of us all. Would he think an invitation to go to sea for the day on HMS Westminster or to hobnob with royalty before witnessing beating retreat was not the sort of thing a real politician should do? And if he accepted the invitations, would he be comfortable in the civic role of Lord Mayor's escort, given how different it is from that of a fierce political advocate? I needn't have worried. Paul accepted with pleasure and was a perfect Lord Mayor's escort, and he will bring such honour to Westminster as our Lord Mayor. Down the 60 years of Westminster's existence in its current form and as a city, there have been worthy Lord Mayors, but no one is more worthy to be the Lord Mayor of Westminster than Paul. And so it is with great pride, admiration and affection that I move the nomination of Councillor Paul de Moldenberg to be the Lord Mayor of Westminster for the new municipal year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bush. I now call on Councillor Hamza Touzal to second the motion.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Oh,
Second the nomination, thank you.
Yes, all right. Can I just begin by saying a big thank you to you for everything you've done in your year. I've enjoyed coming out with you on occasions and watching you run marathons. Not that I'm much of a runner, but good to see that you do it for us. Before I properly start, can I just say what a pleasure it is to be able to second this motion for a good friend, colleague, and of course role model of mine, Councillor Paul de Moldenberg. Paul, as mentioned, was first elected in 1982, a year which seems like ancient history to myself. But then again, I know for many of you, it was just like yesterday. Just so my perspective is understood, my mother was 5 years old when Paul first took office. But it wasn't until 2016 when I properly met Paul, who I knew instantly would be a brilliant role model for me in Queen's Park, alongside Councillor McAllister and our dear friend, Alderman Barry Taylor. I was lucky enough to serve with Paul as his war colleague between 2018 and 2022. And there was always one thing Paul would mention, and it's something that he said to me most poignantly on one afternoon when we met for a coffee in Marylebone Station. And that was that in 2022, he would definitely be standing down. He was certain of it. He helped prep my other amazing ward colleague, Councillor Sandquist, and told us he would be on his way into retirement. None of us realised retirement was so close to us, just a stone's throw away in Hyde Park. His response on election night showed he was just as shocked as we were when Hyde Park went Labour. And as Alderman Qureshi mentioned, he was more concerned with what Linda thought than the actual win. That being said, we are forever grateful that he's still with us on the council and is going to have his well-deserved year as Lord Mayor. Now let me make things clear. Paul has a lot of things going for him. He's been a much-loved local councillor for almost 36 years. He's a well-respected member of the Labour Party. He has an amazing family who I know love him to bits. But the one thing he's fallen short on throughout all his years in Westminster, and he knows it, as we've heard, is the team he supports. Manchester United. Coming from Manchester, I understand that he had no choice but to support Man United, a team which follows the lead of his old portfolio. Rubbish. I've tried my convincing to get him to support the best club in London, Chelsea, but all to no avail. Anyways, moving on from the negatives. Following Paul closely will be his amazing wife, Linda, and two brilliant daughters, Zoe and Amelia. For those of you unaware of what a consort does, their role as a consort will be to support Paul while he's out and about, whether at a small community event or a big flashy event, and I'm sure they'll do a brilliant job at it. All three of his consorts are amazing people, and it would be amiss of me not to mention just how brilliant they are. First, we have his two girls, Zoe and Amelia. Both Zoe and Amelia are Westminster born and bred, having gone to school at St Mary's Bryanston, which is just around the corner from us, then going to St Marylebone Girls' School, again, just around the other corner from us. Both girls grew up with huge talent and creativity, echoing their parents' passion for making a difference. Paul has always played a very big part in their lives, and I know they're both very close to his heart. Amelia had her years as a budding footballer and could probably have walked into the United team with the way they're playing. Zoe was more of a thinker, having done classics at uni. However, that all changed as they got older. Amelia did not become a Man United footballer, and Zoe is not a professor teaching classics. Rather, they took the creative sphere and are both now pulling away with their amazing careers. Zoe is gearing up to carry a career in film production, and Amelia is carrying on from her amazing success hosting the Chicken Shop Day series, which began back in 2015 at one of our very own youth clubs in Harrow Road at the Stowe. Both have been seen on countless red carpets, and I'm sure we'll all be following their careers very closely as they represent our city. Also alongside Paul will be the lady who knows him better than anyone here, Linda. Linda, like Paul, has been an active member of our community for far long before I was born. And like Paul, she was also a Man United fan, unfortunately. She might have been forced into that one. I've known Linda as our Church Street Library guru. Having been a committed member to the Friends of Church Street Library group, she simply never fails to amaze me. I'm always learning more about how a library could be improved, whether it's the space between the aisles to the size of the library garden. Linda knows it all. She's always a joy to speak to and is an extremely caring individual. She's always been there for Paul and will continue to do so for the year going forward. Linda's a kind soul who will treasure and enjoy the year just as much as Paul and the girls will. I caught up with Linda a couple of days ago, which isn't always an easy thing, as I know how much her and Paul like to travel across the country. But I managed to, and I tried to get some sneak peeks about Councillor de Moldenberg, and all she said was one word: rubbish. Yep. Paul was seemingly so impressed with his portfolio as cabinet member that that's all he could talk about, 24/7. His portfolio of city management certainly included a lot more than rubbish, but Paul was an easy man to please, and rubbish is what made his day. Lord Mayor, I want to end by repeating my words at the start and to say what a pleasure it is to be able to second the nomination for Councillor de Moldenberg to become our Lord Mayor. I know from my time in office what a privilege it is to truly experience life across all parts of Westminster, and I look forward to his many future stories. I'd like to second his motion. Thank you.
Thank you. There being no further nominations, I shall now put the candidate to the vote. Those in favour of Councillor Paul de Mildenberg? Those against? Those abstaining? There is a clear majority in favour of Councillor de Mildenberg. I therefore declare Councillor Paul de Mildenberg duly elected Lord Mayor of the ensuing year. Can I now ask Councillor de Mildenberg to kindly join me in the Lord Mayor's retiring room with your Lady Mayoress and Chaplain. During this period, we will be showing videos from the Avenues Youth Project and the Hotel School.
So we work with people who have experienced homelessness, so anybody that either is currently homeless or insecurely housed or has experienced homelessness in the past. We also work with refugees. Anybody who is kind of vulnerable and has found it difficult to get into employment. Really the idea is to inspire people to want to work in hospitality and then give them the skills to do that. So we offer a 10-week training programme here at Westminster College. So we do introduction to hospitality skills, we do some theory, we do a lot of personal development. They come here, do the training, and they go into their first job. This could be people sort of in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And I think it's that additional support that we offer that helps people not only get through the programme, but once they get a job, they stay in it.
We provide 3 training programs per year. These are 10-week training programs that help people get new skills in the hospitality industry and support them directly into employment.
I was very nervous about going into the workplace and how people would treat me. I thought that it would be very competitive, but in fact everyone was so nice. They helped me as much as I needed.
Hotel school is important to me because it's like a second family now, because I discovered my passion that I had before, and they helped me like focus and canalize that, if I can say that. And I like cooking, is my passion, and being here teaching all the people that need assistance in the kitchen is very benefit for me. I feel important in a kind of way because it makes me share a passion that I really like, and it feels very good to be that.
The Avenues Youth Project has been here for about 45 years now. We're in Queen's Park Ward in North Westminster, one of the most deprived and challenging wards. And at the moment we're running our summer holiday programme. We get about 100 to 130 children and young people through the door every day. They can exercise, they can play, they can try new skills. They get lunch, breakfast, and the whole thing's free for them to access.
I first came to Avenues when I was 14 years old. I came here for about 2 years and then I've returned as an adult. I remember how much it impacted me when I was a kid. Avenues is one of the few youth clubs that are still running today. A lot of youth clubs have closed down. You see a wide range of diversity of people, cultures, people who wouldn't always talk to each other or play with each other and get to be in an environment and mix.
Young people, when they get to 14, they have the opportunity to volunteer for us. It's a 6-month organised volunteer programme. Once they've completed that, they have the chance to go on to our Level 1 Youth Work Training Programme, which is a year-long programme. They end up with a basic knowledge of youth work, a qualification, and the chance to earn income working in sessions after school, during the evenings and at weekends.
I started as an apprentice during the Level 1 Youth Work course, and from there I worked my way up as a sport worker. I recently qualified with FA as a football coach, and I've been able to bring that qualification over to Avenues as well. And I run my girls' football session on a Saturday morning. Some days I do cooking, some days I do arts and crafts. It's a variety of different activities that are open for the kids.
A lot of kids lose fitness over the summer, and we try and maintain that fitness with a whole range of different sporting activities.
Really important to stay active, especially for summer holidays. Young people can come here and they can learn in a safe place with familiar faces. Coming to Avenues and staying active and staying fit, there's huge benefits to resilience, determination, perseverance, skills where they can maybe go out in the future and be employed through use of some of the skills that they're learning here.
We got the computers, we got the amps, we got the sound desk, we got the microphone, the headphones. You'd come in here, you'd see me sitting behind my desk, or Dell, and then we would help you find your genre in music. We would help you understand more about what are you writing about.
We run a music course called Mic Drop, which takes 6 to 8 young people every 6 months and trains them in pretty much every aspect of the music industry.
We give you the experience to understand what it's like to be an artist. So you all have paid performances, you all have free recording time, you also do get a music video out of it.
Kickstart is a great program, an evening course for 15 to 18-year-olds. They can try out cooking, video production, hairdressing, beauty, and gives young people a real taste of different career opportunities out there.
Avenues offers a lot of things that children may not be able to do on a day-to-day, and it's a good place to develop yourself socially, mentally and physically.
What I love about this place is that every day is different. It may seem like just a babysitting or like a childcare service, but it's so much more than that.
You can see the smiles on the kids' faces. It helps you build your career, kind of knowing what you want to be in life. I know a lot of kids and children that are very, very happy off this experience, including myself when I was younger.
I, Paul de Moldenberg, having been elected to the office of Lord Mayor of the City of London, Westminster. I'm starting again. Cut. I, Paul de Moldenberg, having been elected to the office of Lord Mayor of the City of Westminster, hereby declare that I take the said office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties thereof according to the best of my judgment and ability. Councillors, honorary aldermen and women, distinguished guests, thank you for attending tonight and thank you for voting for me as your Lord Mayor. Thank you especially to Ruth and Hamza for their very kind words in nominating me. It is a huge honour and a privilege to serve as Lord Mayor of Westminster and as Deputy High Steward. I will do my best to live up to the high standards set by you, Robert, for the past 12 months, and previously by Ruth, by Louise, by Hamza and Patricia. Indeed, there are many former Lord Mayors here tonight whose fine example I will do my best to follow. I've asked Rabbi Mendel Cohen to be my chaplain. Rabbi Cohen is part of the rabbinical team at St. John's Wood Synagogue. He and I have spent some time together to prepare me for the year ahead, and I will seek his advice and guidance over the coming year. Thank you. It won't surprise any of you to say this is something I never expected. When I first started out in politics at the February 1974 general election, I was sent to canvass Wallace Court on Old Marylebone Road. Little did I know that 48 years later, I would be representing the good people of Wallace Court. And now, 51 years later, after venturing out on that cold February night to support Harold Wilson, here I am as Lord Mayor. It's been a long and winding road. It started in Harrow Road ward from 82 to 1990 alongside Diane Abbott, Joe Glickman and Jill Selborne. I was an unsuccessful candidate for Cavendish ward in 1990 and 1994, and then a Queen's Park ward councillor from 1997 to 2022 alongside my good friends Barry Taylor, Mushtaq Qureshi, Patricia and Hamza. And finally, in Hyde Park ward alongside Judith and Shamsed. I've had some wonderful colleagues, and I'm so glad so many have been able to come here tonight to share this honour with me. I'm sad that Joe Hegarty is not here, but so pleased that Helen is. Joe was my mentor, as he was for so many others. I owe a great deal to my Labour group colleagues, many of whom have gone on to greater things. I've learnt a lot from them about politics, about comradeship, and about loyalty. We shared our good times, and we shared our bad times, We stuck together, and because of that, we have delivered on our ambitions for the residents of Westminster. It was my privilege to be the Cabinet Member for City Management and Air Quality, responsible for keeping the streets clean, getting the bins collected, clearing the rubbish, getting the potholes fixed, and so much more. And I'm looking forward to opening Connaught Village Green and launching the footways map of Westminster, two of the projects on which I've put in a lot of work. I've been in Westminster since 1970, first as a town planning student at the Polytechnic of Central London, just a few yards to the east. In 1973, I moved to Manor House, just a few hundred yards to the west. Linda and I were married here at the Council House, and Amelia and Zoe were at school at Enford Street and Marylebone High Street, with Hyde Park as our front garden, Regent's Park as our back garden, Oxford Street as our high street, the West End as our cultural playground, and Euston Station, our gateway back north. Marylebone Road is a wonderful place to live, and I'm very grateful to be here. To misquote the Force's recruitment advert, I was born in Manchester, but made in Westminster. Like many Westminster residents, my family story started somewhere else, far distant from here. It all started in Kerch, in the Crimea, where my great-grandfather, Moshe de Moldenberg, was a cap maker. Like many other Jews, he and his wife Esther fled their home in the 1880s and settled in Salonika, then in Turkey, where their son Jacob was born in 1892. A few years later, the family moved to Paris. Jacob, a talented artist, served in the French Foreign Legion at the Battle of the Somme, where he was wounded. After the war, Jacob married a distant relative from Manchester, where he settled, making a living designing ties, scarves, and shirts for Tootle. Many of Jacob's designs are in collections in the V&A and the Manchester Museum of Science and Industry, and I'm wearing a tie today which Jacob designed and whose design is at the V&A. Meanwhile, in another part of Russia, my other grandfather, Samuel Bloom, the son of a timber merchant, was also fleeing the pogroms. He travelled to Manchester, where he established himself as a kosher butcher in Cheetham Hill. 100 years ago, in 1925, Samuel Bloom was elected president of the Manchester Jewish Master Butchers Association. My grandfathers would not have believed their grandson could ever be Lord Mayor of Westminster or anywhere else. But they did believe that by coming to Britain and working hard, they and their families would prosper. Today, we have similar but different stories of people coming from distant shores to Westminster for a better life. They contribute hugely to our community, to our economy, and to our cultural life. As an example, I have had a new suit made for my Lord Mayoral year, the first suit I've ever had made. It was made by Daniel Amur, a young man of Algerian and Croatian heritage from Church Street, who went to Gateway School in Lisson Grove, where his father Mohammed was on the governing body with Linda. Daniel has studied hard and worked hard. He's here today with his family. He now has his own business in Fitzrovia, and I hope one day he'll have a business in Savile Row. One of the responsibilities of being Lord Mayor is to give up the politics. This is not going to be easy. Indeed, I keep getting calls asking me to run at the next council election in a safe Conservative ward. But I've told them it's far too risky. But to help me keep off the politics, I've drawn up a 5-point plan as Lord Mayor. It's sort of my non-political manifesto. First, I will visit all wards in Westminster to celebrate and encourage the work of local groups, residents, schools, faith groups and volunteers who contribute so much to our communities. I will work with all councillors and hope to visit every point on the Westminster map. Second, I will promote the work of my 2 charities, the Avenues Youth Project in Queen's Park and Hotel School in Victoria. For over 45 years, the Avenues has been given young people direction, support and encouragement. Hotel School offers the homeless and other vulnerable people the opportunity to acquire new skills in the hospitality industry so they can rebuild their lives. I hope both charities benefit from the support of the Lord Mayor. Third, I will encourage walking and an appreciation of Westminster's unique history. Working with the Westminster Guides, we have arranged a programme of monthly walks around Westminster. I hope this will be an opportunity for residents to discover more about their city, as well as encouraging them to walk more. Robert, you were the running Lord Mayor, and as befits my age, I will be the walking Lord Mayor. And fourth and fifth, I'll be launching 2 arts initiatives. As many of you know, the Lord Mayor's Parlour contains several landscapes of Westminster. But there are spaces for a few more, and I will be inviting local artists to submit landscapes of today's Westminster, working with the City Lions and the Westminster Adult Education Service. I hope this will encourage artists, young and old, to come forward with their interpretation of today's Westminster landscapes. And finally, as a lover of brass music, I've commissioned Luca Zucchia, a postgraduate student at the Royal Academy of Music, to write the Fairer Westminster Suite. This will be performed later this year by a brass quintet at a concert at the Royal Academy just across the road. We may even get a recording out for Christmas. Finally, I'd like to say a few words about Linda, Amelia and Zoe, the 3 women in my life who I love dearly and who have inspired me and who keep me going. Linda and I have been on the long and winding road together since the 1970s, delivering leaflets, knocking on doors, attending meetings, and delivering even more leaflets. This year is going to be very different for both of us, and we're both looking forward to this adventure. Amelia needs little introduction. For Amelia, it all started at the Stowe, just up the Harrow Road, writing Chicken Chop Date for the Cut magazine. I hope that Amelia will be able to join me at young people's activities, where I know she will get a very warm welcome. Zoe works in film production, and there's little Zoe doesn't know about films. And I know that Zoe will be able to join me if we get invited to attend film premieres or any other cultural events in the West End. That's enough from me. Please, finally, do not forget the annual civic service at Westminster Abbey on the 6th of July. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for this honour. It's now time to get to work. Thank you. Can I sit down? Agenda item 2, minutes of the last meeting. Unless any member wishes to raise a point of order relating to the accuracy of the minutes, I will consider that members are content that I sign the minutes of the last meeting. Please state now if you wish to raise a point of order. Thank you. The minutes are agreed. Agenda item 3, presentation of the past Lord Mayor's badge and other insignia. It is with great pleasure that I present on behalf of the Council a past Lord Mayor's badge and the vote of thanks to Councillor Robert Rigby and past Lady Mayoress's badge to Amiku Murai Rigby in recognition of the wonderful service given by you both. Thank you very much indeed. Well done. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. I now call Councillor Rachel Robertson to move the vote of thanks to the past Lord Mayor, Councillor Robert Rigby, and his Lady Mayoress.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And actually, may I begin by congratulating you on your... Oh, gosh, that's successful. Congratulating you on your election as Lord Mayor of the City of Westminster this evening. Someone said to me a while ago that the tone of an organisation is set by the person at the top of that organisation. And I believe that the first citizen of Westminster also shapes and influences the tone of the city. And in Westminster, over the last year, we have had the very finest example. Robert Rigby is quite simply one of the most decent and hard-working people to have been elected to this council. And his year as Lord Mayor has highlighted that. Kind, courteous, interested, always reaching out to others, whoever they may be, seeking to set people at ease and support them. The Lord Mayoralty has not been about him or his status or his position. He has used this office, this great office, to shine the spotlight outwards onto those groups, residents and charities who do so much to make our city such a special place to live. And in particular, he has shone the light on his two chosen charities of the Cardinal Hume Centre and the MCC Foundation. Now, Lord Mayor, you may be the walking mayor, but we certainly know that this past Lord Mayor can run. Indeed, I understand he gave Dame Kelly Holmes quite a run for her money at the London Landmarks Half Marathon. But he used his great sporting talent to inspire others to be more active, visiting every primary school in Westminster to encourage children by his example to take up sport and movement, as we all know the benefits for their future physical and mental health. He went to old people's homes to show how activities can be fun and help people be more connected. And he visited homeless projects and talked of how he was genuinely humbled to work alongside the volunteers who do such great work in our city to help people to a better life. He honoured the military and veteran communities in our midst and was determined, I remember this, to organise a reception to mark the 40th anniversary of the Royal Green Jackets receiving the freedom of the city. Indeed, they presented him with a silver bugle, which I believe sits proudly in the Lord Mayor's parlour, and who knows, Lord Mayor, you may find it quite handy. Of course, we know that Robert is a great Japanophile, and with his lovely and always elegant Lady Mayoress, Emiko, has done a huge amount to reach out to build greater connections with the Japanese community in Westminster through business and cultural events, as well as some highlight moments such as planting trees in London Zoo alongside the Japanese ambassador. However, undoubtedly, one of the absolute highlights will have been attending the state banquet and other ceremonial events for their Majesties, the Emperor and Empress of Japan. Indeed, the Lady Mayoress was invited to join the royal procession at Buckingham Palace, which I believe must be a first. Yet for all the pomp and ceremony of the role, Robert never forgot that his purpose was to serve the people of Westminster and to highlight them, not himself. I was very fortunate to be invited to join him at some events during the year, and I remember attending a lovely service for the war widows, all those who've lost their partners or members of their family in the service of this country, at the Guards Chapel. Robert, of course, arrived in his splendid chains of office and was very much a focus of attention. But I watched as he very swiftly and deftly shifted the focus away from himself and onto them, asking about their organisation, the challenges they faced, how he could support them, what more he could do. And always in his gentle, courteous way, putting everyone at ease and making them realise that they were the important ones. And of course, through all this and his approach to the mayoralty, Robert's deep religious faith has shone through and guided him. And I was honoured earlier this year to be at Westminster Cathedral when he was appointed a Knight of St. Gregory, a papal knight, which is the highest lay honour in the Catholic faith. And you did look very impressive in your uniform, Robert. Robert, I hope that you and Emiko have enjoyed your year. You have both done so much for Westminster during your mayoralty, and you have worked tirelessly to serve our city. I believe you've carried out over 800 engagements, which must be a record. But it's telling, yes, actually, quite right, wow. But it is telling that Lizzie and the rest of the team, who do so much to support the Lord Mayor, said to me that while it has been the busiest year they can remember, it has been an absolute delight to work with you. Robert, you have set the tone for our city. Selfless, hard-working, reaching out to others, bringing people together, using the mayoralty to shine the spotlight on the huge amount of work done across our city, often by unsung heroes. We all owe you a debt of gratitude, and Lord Mayor, I move that motion.
I now call Councillor Paul Swaddle to second the motion.
Thank you. And Lord Mayor, welcome. I couldn't have picked a better year for you to be Lord Mayor. Thank you. Distinguished guests, fellow councillors, friends, and most importantly, Councillor Rigby, or should I say Robert. It gives me genuine pleasure, both personally and on behalf of the council, to second this vote of thanks as your mayoral year draws to a close. It feels particularly fitting, as your ward colleague in Regent's Park Ward, to have this opportunity to reflect on your time as first citizen of Westminster. And what a time it's been. We knew you'd be an active Lord Mayor, but over 800 engagements, though I know you say it isn't a competition, it speaks remarkably of your stamina and dedication. Your mission was to inspire an activity, and inspire you certainly did. Reaching all of our primary schools, visiting every single care home is a phenomenal achievement. The children were clearly engaged, asking proving questions like, do you have a private jet? And what's your favourite football team? He doesn't. Yeah. I hear you particularly enjoyed the breakfast questions, giving you a chance to extol the virtues of porridge. Your enthusiasm extended to all ages, promoting the Daily Mile, joining walking at Lord's Cricket Ground, participating in dance classes, and even chair basketball. Of course, you led by example, famously running several half marathons in a distinctive mayoral running shirt, raising funds and inspiring others to get active. And who could forget the personal best at the London landmark half marathon? Alongside this, you championed the cause of homelessness with genuine compassion, visiting projects like Farm Street and the Companions Cafe, serving meals yourself and being humbled by the experience. Your support for the Cardinal Hume Centre and the MCC Foundation has made a real difference, raising vital funds and awareness. You've represented Westminster with distinction at countless events, from solemn services at the Abbey to the unforgettable and possibly wettest ever Trafalgar Square Christmas tree lighting. The event, despite the rain, went viral, helped by Larry the Cat and Erling Haaland, showcasing your knack for making the headlines, which continued with features in the Catholic press worldwide, on radio, podcasts, TV in the UK and Norway. We've seen you getting hands-on, quite literally, cleaning streets, planting trees, even feeding monkeys. You unveiled the restored Baker Street water fountain, a project that I know you campaigned so long for, and donned the appropriate attire for every occasion, whether that be the mayoral running shirt, apron, or Christmas jumper. There were unique moments too. I was honoured to be there when you received the prestigious papal knighthood of St. Gregory at a special investiture, reinstating a Catholic civic service, strengthening our Japanese ties, and earning the affectionate title of show-off from His Majesty the King for your linguistic skills. Celebrating Chinese New Year, receiving the HMS Westminster Bell, and honouring the Green Jackets, Royal Green Jackets. Robert, throughout this whirlwind year, serving alongside you has been the wonderful first Japanese Lady Mayoress. Emiko, you have been an outstanding ambassador for the city. Robert, you've achieved everything you set out to do, written countless personal thank you notes, and approached every single engagement with infectious enthusiasm. It's clear you had an absolute ball and loved every minute. And as your ward colleague, I've seen your dedication for years, and this last year you've shared that energy and commitment with the entire city. And I was very privileged to be at the very last event for the Lord Mayor, the opening of a garden in Regent's Park ward, and I think it would be great to finish where it all started. So, Robert, on the behalf of all councillors and the residents of Westminster, thank you for your tireless service, your boundless energy, your unwavering commitment. We wish you both, you and Emiko, all the best. Thank you.
The vote of thanks to the past Lord Mayor and his Lady Mayoress has been moved and seconded. Are there any objections? I therefore declare the motion carried. Councillor Rigby, would you like to say a few words?
Of course. Being a local politician, we all like to say a few words. Lord Mayor, distinguished guests, including the Councillor and Head of Administration at the Embassy of Japan, councillors, friends, family, including my younger brother, Richard, and his wife, Karen, who've flown in from Switzerland. Wow. Now, where did that last 12 months go? I mean, you know, you get older and time flies. And I have to say, in this position, Paul, it will fly. As we all know, all good things must come to an end, and that moment has arrived when I hand the baton on to you, Paul. Lord Mayor, may I be one of the first to welcome you to the position of First Citizen and congratulate you on your appointment. I'm sure you're in for a year to remember like no other. In your very distinguished 36 years you have devoted to public life. Being Lord Mayor is by no means an individual role. It requires support of many. I would therefore like to thank a few who have helped me over the past 12 months. Thank you to members on both sides of the chamber to give me the opportunity to be the 60th Lord Mayor of this wonderful city of Westminster. I also very much appreciate the kind words of Rachel and Paul. I would also like to pay a special thanks to my A-team in the Lord Mayor's office, Lizzie, Kate, Bailey, Fergus, George, James, and Steve. You have all made my life as the media-shy Lord Mayor that much easier. I appreciate I have been an active Lord Mayor, so I hope I've not exhausted you out too much. Also, thank you to my deputies and the honorary aldermen who have supported me during my year. I've often been asked what the highlights of my year have been. Well, as you've heard, Paul and Rachel have kindly mentioned some of them, but I'd like to highlight a few of myself. It is always a tricky question to answer, as you'll find out when you stand here, Paul, in 12 months' time. But attending the many community events across this wonderful city has been fantastic. The joy and happiness one can bring as the Lord Mayor is memorable. My visit to care homes were very special, especially attending Norton House and surprising Benjamin Stacey on his 100th birthday, or visiting Percy Schaffer at Lillington and Langmore, who had actually just turned 104. My visit to dear Percy became even more poignant when I heard he passed away a few weeks later. Also attending last week's service of Thanksgiving to mark the 80th anniversary of VE Day, where I had the privilege of meeting and able to talk to veterans who had given so much to ensure we remain a free and democratic society. That'll remain fresh in my mind for many years to come. As Councillor Swaddle reminded us, my theme for the year has and was indeed inspiring activity. So I'd like to thank all those head teachers and pupils who opened their school and allowed me to come in and talk to them about the role of the Lord Mayor and also the Daily Mile. Talking of sport, and particularly running, I'm absolutely delighted to have put the wheels in motion around establishing a junior park run in Hyde Park, with the aim of it starting in the autumn. I'm very grateful to the Royal Parks, the active Westminster team, especially Jonathan Hearn and the Cabinet member for their support. Hopefully this can be one of my lasting legacies. Whilst talking of legacies, I'm also pleased to see an idea I put forward is gaining traction and hopefully can be implemented. And I'm talking here of the installation of a commemorative paving stone at Trafalgar Square, where the wonderful Norwegian spruce tree donated each year by the Norwegian people is placed. This plaque would shine a light on the lasting friendship between our two nations, a friendship that should be celebrated, I believe, all the year round, rather than the 4 weeks when the tree is in its place. Talking of shining a light, I was, as has been announced, very pleased in my year to be promoting Japan, a country I've come to love and respect, both on the business and cultural side, and I hope I have helped forge closer links, attending the Japanese Matsuri, promoting the Sakura Cherry Tree Project by planting cherry trees, including one and a number at the London Zoo with the Japanese ambassador, His Excellency. You may also recall when I stood here 12 months ago, I did speak about my Catholic faith and the influence of the rule of St. Benedict has had on me. I certainly found during my year, as it unfolded, that did give me a great source of strength. The religious aspect of the role of Lord Mayor is very evident early on in one's term. as you're going to find out, Lord Mayor, given one of the very, very first, in fact, I think it's the first engagement you do as Lord Mayor, is go to Westminster Abbey, where the bells are rung for you. It also reminds me of your role as Deputy High Steward, one of which has such significance. I would like, therefore, to thank, if I may, Mr. Dean, the clergy, the honorary stewards at the Abbey, for their kindness and always being so welcoming. I enjoyed immensely visiting the Abbey with the Lady Mayoress, attending many services, including the Commonwealth Day, the annual Battle of Britain Memorial Service, Anzac Day, and Evening Song, where this year a new Chief Honorary Steward was installed. Whilst still on the religious theme, I would like to thank two prominent Catholics who've helped me this year. Firstly, Father Christopher Colvin, my chaplain, for his wisdom and guidance, and I am only sorry that he is not able to be here tonight. But shortly after I selected him to be my chaplain, the Cardinal decided to appoint him as the Catholic chaplain to the Houses of Parliament. So that is where he is tonight. And secondly, Cardinal Vincent Nichols, for allowing me the privilege of holding a civic service at Westminster Cathedral in March, the first such service for over 30 years, and for His Eminence to not only attend, but to be the main celebrant was indeed very special. I would also like to pay tribute to my wife, Emiko. For the support she has provided as Lady Mayoress. And it was wonderful that we were both able to share in the Emperor and Empress's state visit to the UK back in June. There were many highlights during that historic visit, but one which really will stick with me and has been referred already to by Rachel was when we both attended the state banquet at Buckingham Palace. Having arrived for dinner, I was led alone into the ballroom. The lights went down and the royal party entered to the sound of trumpets. And I really could not believe my eyes to see the Lady Mayoress in the royal procession. Quite extraordinary. And then to be seated at the top table, some 3 seats away from the Emperor and 4 seats from the King. Incredible. I have been humbled by this year. I have tried hard to uphold the traditions of this great office. Thank you so much for giving me this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be the first citizen of what can only be described as the best city in the world. Thank you.
Well done. Agenda item 4, report on key decisions. Use of Special Urgency Procedure 2024 to 2025. The report is for noting. Agenda item 5, constitutional matters. The recommendations in the report of the Executive Director of Corporate Services and Monitoring Officer are as set out in the papers and are deemed to have been moved and seconded. A list of the memberships of the committees is tabled as an appendix. We will now vote on the 2 recommendations set out in the report. The first vote is on the allocation of places on the standing committees and the members appointed to them. This is set out in the report and appendix tabled. Those in favour of this recommendation? Those against? Those abstaining? I declare the recommendation adopted. We now vote on the second recommendation set out in the report, which is to confirm the proportional division of seats on the standing committees as set out in the report tabled. Those in favour of the recommendation? Those against? Those abstaining? I declare the recommendation adopted. Agenda item 6, report to full council, approval of constitution, including changes. The recommendations in the report are as set out in the papers and are deemed to have been moved and seconded. We now vote on the recommendations set out in the report. The first vote is on the changes to the Procurement Code, summarised in section 4 of the report and displayed in Appendix A. Those in favour of the recommendation? Those against? Those abstaining? I declare the recommendation adopted. We now vote on the second recommendation set out in the report, which is to approve the Council's constitution, inclusive of the changes agreed and as set out in Appendix B. Those in favour of the recommendation? Those against? Those abstaining? I declare the recommendation adopted. Thank you. That is the end of the voting on reports. As I mentioned earlier, the civic service will be held at Westminster Abbey from 11 o'clock on the Sunday the 6th of July, and I hope that all members will be able to attend. That concludes the business of the annual meeting of the Council. The mayoral party will now leave the dais. After we have left the room, please proceed in a few moments to the Westminster Room to join us for light refreshments. Thank you and good evening.